freedom, I have to read the definition here. And freedom is the power or right to act, to speak, or to think as one wants to, without any hindrance or without any sort of resistance or restraint. That is the power to do what you need to do in the moment without worrying about anything that's coming against you. I want to take you back to a time when you were a child. Now, for me, it's a couple years ago, but I want to bring you back to that moment. When you were a child, you understood the correct definition of freedom. You lived, you played, you enjoyed. Here it is. You created, you imagined, you dreamed, you had goals, you had aspirations, and no matter what came against you, you let nothing take hold of that dream from you. And I want to start right there today. When you talk about freedom, we have to get back to the place where we're free to create, free to dream, free to envision, and free to act without restraint or without regard. When you're talking about freedom, it's a fun thing because you can do anything. Your imagination goes wild. You're excited about the moment. You're present in the moment, and you're not letting anything hinder you. I want to bring us back to that place. Why? Because in freedom, that's where we can grow. That's where we can advance. That's where we can develop. And in that freedom, it's going to be necessary for us to get back to that place as we move forward together. As a village, as a community, as other communities that we embody and embrace, we have to get back to the place of freedom. And in order to get back to the place of freedom, we have to have mindset renewal. What that means is some of the old habits and patterns that we have, not necessarily throw them away, but we have to keep them in order to shift further towards the future of progression. We have to change some things, change some thoughts. We have to put our egos on hold. We have to put some of our own ideologies that have been stagnant on hold, and we have to navigate in order to move forward into a greater future. So that means change. Now listen, I know change is a little bit different, but that means we have to embrace it because it helps us grow in a healthy manner. It helps us develop. It helps us shape. It helps us believe again. We have to understand that as we're navigating this mindset change and renewal, it's going to take two things. Here's point number one, accountability and discipline. These two things are something that often go hand in hand. Oftentimes we all like to say we have it, but when we get into the thick of it, it takes some work. And so I want us to get back to the place of understanding what accountability is, understanding what discipline is, and how we can bring it all together to move forward together as we grow in this community. Now, I told you we went back to the place of freedom. As a child, we understand that we were able to reign and run and play all day. I'm going to take you back to a place in my childhood. When I was a young person, I would go from door to door seeking, hey, after school, is Johnny home? Hey, after school, is Marcus home? Hey, after school, is Janessa home? Can we play together on the street? We had one goal in mind, and that was playing our hearts out. That wasn't until the streetlights came on. When the streetlights came on, that means it was time to get right back home. Otherwise, it was going to be some trouble. But listen, no matter what happened, I had my mindset on that one thing, and that's playing and playing my heart out. This is the opportunity that we have as community leaders to get back to that place of freedom. We may not be playing on the streets anymore, but we're fighting in the streets. We're fighting for justice. We're fighting against the systemic injustices that have happened to us as a culture and as a community. Now we have one goal in mind, and that's moving forward with progress. Now, how do we do this? Again, we take it one person at a time. We take it one step at a time. We take it one movement at a time. And what it's going to take is four things. Write these things down. Number one, it's going to take conditioning. Ooh, I don't know about you, but growing up playing athletics, conditioning was always the hardest part, but it helped develop something in you so that way you can grow and be prepared for your next stage. It's going to take coaching. Everyone needs a coach. And we honor the coaches, and we honor those who have coached us in our lives and honor those who have coached us in this playbook of journey of development and freedom living. But we have to honor the coaches, and we have to listen. Now, there's a difference between listening and hearing. Listening means it resonates with me. Hearing can mean it goes in one ear and out the other. But we have to honor the coaching. The next thing we have to honor is our commitment. Wow, we have to ask ourselves, are we truly committed to the process? Not only are we committed to the process, but who are we committed in partnering with? See, partnership is going to take a huge role if we're going to move forward together, and we're going to move at a pace that helps grow and develop and change the future together. The last thing we have to deal with, the last C we have to deal with is contention. Now that's that fight. That's that resilience. That's that underdog spirit. That's that I'm not going to give up. That's that I don't care what time it is. I'm going to make it happen. That's that I got my group of friends and we're going to challenge those group of friends up the street and we're going to win. That's that contention. That's that fighting. It's going to take those four things. It's going to take honoring our coaching. It's going to take making sure that we're developed in our conditioning. It's going to take that commitment. Are we committed? And it's going to take that contention, that fighting spirit. This is how we move forward together. This is how we get to the place of freedom together, one step at a time, one person at a time, one movement at a time. Now I got to bring us back. We played as a child already, but now I got to take us through stages of development. Now we've gone through development in our culture. Now we've gone through development in our communities. Now we got to get to the place where we have to perform, not in a way that I'm only performing to get something done, but I'm performing to make the world around me better. Because now it's not just about me. It's about my heritage. It's about my legacy. It's about honoring those who have been before me. It's about honoring their presence. It's about listening to them and growing towards the future. Let me give you a prime example. The Olympics just passed. It was amazing to see everyone in Tokyo doing their thing, but no one really understands or really took notice of how they prepped along the way. It took time. It took coaching. Yeah, they didn't always like their coaches. They didn't always agree with them. They didn't always stand on those same things, but that coach knew exactly what it was to pull out of the athlete what they needed for the moment at their biggest stage. It takes conditioning. Now listen to me, 5 a.m., 3 a.m., 11 p.m., 8 a.m., whatever time conditioning is, it took that place of making sure that they were there and ready to prepare them for the next stage. It took commitment. Listen, it takes the commitment for them to be able to get prepared to even get invited to the Olympics. And the last one, it took contention. Looking at others around me and say, I'm building something that's greater than me, and I'm going to fight all the way through it. And these four things are what we need in order to move forward together, to get back to the place of freedom and moving. We need those four things. The last thing is we have to honor, we have to stand, we have to understand where we're at, and we have to move forward one step at a time. What does that look like? I'm going to show you. Here's the relay race. We set it up. One person starts off, boom, the gun goes off. They're racing, they're running, they're moving one step at a time, one place at a time, one goal at a time, one mindset at a time, one thing, and that's to win the race. The next person gets what they call the baton pass or the switch off. One person is running, they get prepared, they shout before they get there, and they holler, stick. Yeah, you said it right there. Just shout it one time out loud. Stick. Yeah, right there. They pass the baton, and the person in front of them starts running ahead already before they do the exchange. Can you imagine what our communities will look like if we hollered stick from one generation to the next, from one moment to the next, from one community to the next, from one person to the next? I want you to just practice it right there. Just shout stick. Yeah, see, for some of you, the baton may be just running the race, but for some of you, the baton may be fighting systemic racism. The baton may be fighting the injustices around you. The baton may be fighting equal opportunities and things that we're dealing with around you. Somebody has to yell, stick. But it's in order for us to grow together and move together, we have to take those four principles so that way when the exchange comes forth, we're able to do it flawlessly. We do not drop the baton. I don't know what is facing our communities right now, but it's going to take all of us in efforts to not drop the baton. We have to honor the coaching, listening to the coaching. It may not feel good. It may not look good. It may not be understandable. It may not be practical in the moment, but we have to honor the conversation with one another. That's the thing. We have to honor communication with one another. We have to know that we don't know it all. We have to know that we are partnered in this thing together. And as I get prepared to pass the baton to you, you begin to start moving. You begin to start running. You begin to start moving towards that same goal that we had as kids, free as a bird, without restraint, without resistance, getting ready to attack one common goal, and that's developing our communities, leading in our communities, changing our world in freedom together. You've got the baton now. What are you going to do with it? You've got the baton now. What are you going to do with it? You've got the baton now. What are you going to do with it? Don't drop it, but let's move together. Let's finish the race together. Let's know that we are all part and all called to be a part of this one body movement together and finish the race, finish the goal. Who are we partnered with and how are we getting to the goal? See, partnership, it doesn't mean that you'll always agree. It doesn't mean that you're able to understand what each other means all the time, but what it does mean is it means that we're going to honorably and vulnerably express our fears, our wants, our desires, our needs, and we're going to strategize together in order to move to the next level, in order to accomplish the goal that we set as a community. Now we all have the baton. You've shouted it, you've typed it, you may have screamed it in the middle of your living room or wherever you're watching this segment, but now you have the baton. And what we are not going to do is we're not going to drop it. See, when we drop the baton, that disqualifies us. But when we pick up the baton, when we communicate, when we talk to each other, when we ask the hard questions, when we seek and search out strategies, and when we keep moving, we can change the world together. So one more time, wherever you are, just shout, stick. Yeah, you got it. Pick up the baton, keep moving, and let's develop the community building and the legacy building together. Here's the baton. What are you going to do with it? Now listen, we're all part of the same body, many members, but one body. That's what the scriptures tell us. And so now you have to understand that you're a part of it. You are necessary. Your baton action, your training, your coaching is necessary. Here's the baton. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to run? Are you going to keep moving? Are you going to run with freedom? Are you going to attain the goal? We have to get there one step at a time, one movement at a time, one community at a time. Say it with me. One step at a time, one movement at a time, one community at a time. We have the baton. We're all necessary. Your voice matters. Our communities matter. And we have to get to the place of freedom one step at a time, one movement at a time, one community at a time. I love you so much. Thank you for being a pivotal part of my village. Thank you for being in community and helping change the world together. Now let's grow higher. Let's keep moving in freedom.